Functions in Python is usually a block of code that can be executed multiple times from different parts of a program. So when it comes to repeatedly executing certain statements, we can also take the help of your iteration statement like your for loop or your while loop. But the thing is, here, when you're executing a particular piece of code multiple times, using loops, we can execute it only one part or in a particular portion of a program. But when the same set of statements I want to execute at different parts of the program repeatedly as per my wish, then functions are the only solution for it. So functions are mostly used to organize the code. I mean, we are trying to break down a piece of code into a smaller and manageable chunks. So if a large program is available, so we can divide the program into smaller part of the, small portions where each one of them I can refer as nothing but a function which is going to do a particular task. Now, the most importantly, reuse the code. Like we said, we can use it or call it different parts of the program. So we can avoid writing the same statements time and again. So once I have written a block of code or a function, I can use it anywhere in the program by calling it multiple times. It improves readability because after I write the block of statements, I'm going to give a name to it. So this entire block of statements are identified by a specific name here. So let's see how exactly we define a function. The syntax is we start with a keyword that is your def followed by a function name, and within this brackets we can write an optional parameters. This can have parameter, this may not have parameters also. And here we write the block of code, maybe one line, maybe multiple lines, which are nothing but the block which belongs to this particular function. Now, for example, here I'm defining a function. Say greet is the function name. I'm using this keyword def followed by, there is one parameter here, let's say some name, and this statement is nothing but the body or the block of this particular function. Now, once we have defined the function, they will not execute automatically. You have to call them. So while calling a function, I will be using the name of the function. That is, let's say here, name of the function is greet. And as per the required number of parameters, I am passing a parameter. So when you call this greet function with some parameter, now the control will go to the function definition, and this John is copied into this variable name, and then this block of statement will execute where we are trying to print hello followed by the name is nothing but John here. So as a result, we are going to get an output like hello John. Now, every function that we define may or may not have parameters, and usually the parameters are the inputs that are given to a function. So if a function contains one or more parameters, then at the time of calling, compulsory we have to provide those values. If we do not do that, then we will get an error. Now, for example, here, let's say we have taken a function, say wish, and there is one parameter here. So while I call this function wish, I must pass at least one single value because there is one parameter expected out of this function. So while calling wish, I'm calling, let's say Sunil, I'm calling wish once again Gautami. So I have defined this function only once, but I can call it as many times as I wish. So this call is going to execute this function the first time by taking the value of this parameter as Sunil and printing like hello Sunil, good morning, because these are the two text messages we have added, and this name may keep on changing based upon which value you have used while calling that particular function. So in this particular call, name has been set with Sunil, hence we are going to get like hello Sunil, good morning. And secondly, we are calling the same function once again by passing another name, let's say Gautami. So I'm going to get the message like, hello, Gautami, good morning. So once you have defined it, we are trying to use it as many times as per our choice. Now looking into another example here, let's say we have taken one more function here, let's say find underscore square. Here also I have one parameter. Now I'm calling this function here by passing a value 4. So the num value becomes your 4, and this print, I mean this block, is going to print like num, that is 4. This is a message once again, and 4 into 4, that is 16. So I'll get a output like 4 square is 16 because of this call. Now this is another one calling the same function once again with a value 5. So now this num value is going to be 5. So again this is going to execute like 5 square is 5 into 5, that is 25. Now the function takes the parameter as its input, and it is going to execute the business logic, whatever code we have written. And towards the end, it is going to return some output to the call, because after I define the function, I have to call the function. So whoever is calling, so whenever we are calling a function, that function is expected to get some value out of the function. Now, sometime it may so happen a function may not return anything. So if there is any requirement of returning any value out of a function, then we should be using this return statement. Now, if you are not writing return statement, like in the previous examples we have seen, we have not written any statement like return statement. So when I do not mention any return statement inside a function body, so it is going to return a default value, that is nothing but your none. And let's see here. So here we have defined one function. The name of the function is add, and we have taken two parameters. And here I'm adding a return statement. So return followed by some expression, that is x plus y. So now when I'm going to call this line, you can see the right hand side, we are calling the function add, and because it is looking for two parameters, we have passed two parameters here, say 10 and 20. Now the control has gone here, and x and y values have become 10 and 20. Now when this line gets executed, return x plus y, that is 10 plus 20, 30. So this function is going to return 30 when this add is called with the values like 10 and 20. So the 30 is now stored inside this variable result, which later on we are printing here. So as a result, I am going to get what? The sum is 30. Now you either take a variable to hold the return value of a function, or you can also use print function directly without taking the help of any variable, like what we have done here. So here I am calling the function. Now, as I'm calling the add function with two values, that is 100 and 200. So obviously the x and y values are going to be 100 and 200. Now, how much does it return? Return x plus y, that is 100 plus 200. So this call is going to result as 300. So as a result, we are going to get a message like the sum is 300. If I'm using the same print function for a function where there is no return statement, let's see what is going to happen. So here you can see we have taken a function. Let's say the name of the function is fun. So here I'm not returning anything, rather I'm just printing a message, that is hello. Now here when I'm calling this function fun, because there is no parameter required, so I have not passed anything. So this call is simply going to execute this line. So I get this hello printed. Now in the second call, you can see we are calling the fun function inside a print. So when this call is being made, it does two things. It is going to print, I mean execute the body of this function, as a result of which we are going to get this hello printed. Secondly, it is going to return, because there is no return statement available here. So we have already told, like if you are not writing a return statement, then the return value is what? None. So after printing this hello, we are going to get a none displayed out here, because we have not given any written statement here. So if we speak of either of the languages like C, C++, Java, any other programming language, a function can at maximum return only one value. You might be writing multiple return statements inside the function, but at a particular point of time, one return statement will execute, which means only one value it can return maximum. So but in Python, we have an option of returning multiple values or any number of values for that matter. Let us see how can we do that. So here I'm trying to define a function, say sum underscore sub, taking two parameters here. Now here we are calculating sum equal to a plus b. So sum is going to hold the summation of these two values. And there is one more like sub equal to a minus b, which is going to carry the difference of these two variables a and b. Now here is the most important one. So we are writing return statement, but I'm not writing a single value, rather I'm writing two values, which means this function is going to return two values by the end of the call. Now let's see what we are doing here. So this is where I'm calling this function, okay, in this line. So sum underscore sub, we have passed two values, say 100 comma 50. So obviously 100 is the value of A and 50 is the value of B. Now after this calculation has been done, so sum is going to carry 150 and this sub is going to carry 50. And these two values are returning here. So because this function is returning two values, so I have to take two variables to carry them. So here the first return value is nothing but what? Sum. So sum will be stored inside the variable x, whereas the second return value, that is sub, will be stored inside the variable y. So as a result, when I'm printing the value of x, we are going to get 150. Similarly, when I'm trying to print y value, I'm going to get 50 here. So while returning multiple values, one thing we have to ensure that we should be writing those many variables to carry them. Because here in this example, my function is returning only two values. Hence here we have taken two variables. If it is going to be more than two, maybe 5, maybe 10. So accordingly, those many variables I can keep it here. Now, if you do not want to write multiple variables here, because you have to remember how many values are being written by the statement, I mean the function. Accordingly, you have to define this. Now, if you do not want to do that, there is another option. You can take one variable here, because whenever a function is going to return a set of returns values, all of them are going to be written in the form of a tuple. So we can take one variable here. The function may be returning multiple values, and that one variable is going to behave like a tuple. Let's see an example. So here I'm defining a function, let's say some CALC, taking two parameters. So from this we understand we are calculating the sum, difference, multiplication and your division. So four different variables have been used to hold the respective results. Now the last statement, that is your return statement, has how many values? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now from this example we understood that when there are multiple values being written, those many variables I should be writing. But here what we have done, we have taken only one variable and we are calling the function with these two values. Now here this t is automatically going to act as a tuple, because I know that this function is going to return four values and those four values are grouped under a tuple. So as a result, this t is going to act as a tuple. So when I'm trying to print the value of t later, you can see this symbol, okay, this pair of parentheses is nothing but your tuple symbol. So all the result, like this is your sum, this is your sub, this is your multiplication result and this is your division result. So you have two options. Either you keep on writing those many variables as written by the function, and otherwise you can take only a single variable which is going to act as a tuple. And later on, if you want to use a for loop, and you can go through, or you can traverse through the sequence that is tuple. You can print the elements as per your requirement.